Hello and welcome to lecture 1 of the lecture series in topology. Today, before we start off with definitions of what a topology is, let us look into some motivation. So, I hope all of you are familiar with the basic epsilon delta definition of continuity for a real valued function. So, let us start off with a real valued function f defined on a subset A of R. Now, for an A naught in A, we say F is continuous at A naught, provided for any choice of positive real value epsilon, you should be able to find another positive real value delta epsilon such that for all A in A, if absolute value of A minus A naught happens to be less than delta epsilon, then this absolute value of f of A minus f of A naught should be less than epsilon. This is this is what it requires for a function f to be continuous at A naught. Well, the gist of this definition is that whenever 2 points are closer, well, absolute value of A minus A naught is basically the distance between A and A naught along the real line. This is basically the Euclidean distance. So whenever 2 points are closer, their images shall also be closer under a continuous function. That's basically the gist of this definition. Now, for such a thing to happen, for us to talk of continuity for a function defined on a subset A of R, there should be enough room in these subsets or the domains so that the definition of continuity does not hold vacuously for any of its points. That is, if something is just true because the hypothesis cannot be wrong. So something, I mean, we should have enough room in A so that these statements do not hold vacuously. So, so exactly for that reason, we define or we work with domains which are what are usually called as open sets. So today we shall be defining what are open sets in the real line. Okay, so let O be a subset of R. We say O is an open set in R provided for all its points O. For every x in O, there exist two real numbers ax and bx in R such that x belongs to open interval ax dx, and this entire open interval is contained in O. If such a thing happens for all points of O, then we say O is an open subset or open set in R. So we shall be today looking at examples of open sets. The first obvious example that we see is open intervals are themselves open sets. Now, so let us. I talked about open interval here, but let me quickly see what an open interval is for A and B real numbers such that A is less than B. Open interval AB is basically collection of all real numbers such that collection of all those real numbers which are being denoted as T, such that A is strictly less than T and T is strictly less than B. Now, the claim is for any A for any B such that A is less than B, open interval AB is an open set as defined above. So basically what should happen is for every element of open interval AB, we should be able to choose real numbers AX, BX such that this thing is true. Now there's so for X or T in open interval AB, we need AT and BT such that T belongs to open interval AT-BT and open interval AT-BT is contained in open interval AB. You could give a moment's thought. You can think for 10 seconds and come up with a choice for AT and BT. Look, there are innumerable such choices one can make. All of those could be correct choices. So one obvious choice that one can make is choose AT to be A itself and BT to be B itself. In that case, this statement is straightforward. So let's push to another example. So this is actually, it shouldn't be categorized as an example, but let's see it. So consider closed interval 0, 1. So this by definition is collection of all real numbers such that x is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 1. Now, we could ask the question is closed interval 0, 1 an open set in R. Now, for it to be an open set, as per the definition, for every t in closed interval 0, 1, we should be able to find real numbers at and bt such that t belongs to open interval at-bt, and open interval at-bt is is a subset of closed interval 0, 1. Okay, so what we see is uh, we can do such a thing for every element. We can do such a thing for all t in open interval 0, 1. That's because from our first example, the first example said that all open intervals are open sets. So for any t in open interval 0, 1, there exist there exist at bt real numbers such that t belongs to open interval at-bt, and open interval at-bt is contained in open interval 0, 1, which in turn is contained in closed interval 0, 1. So whatever is required here is satisfied by all elements of open interval 0, 1. So basically, we just have to demonstrate that the requirement is satisfied by all elements of by all t which belongs to open interval, which belongs to closed interval 0, 1, but does not belong to open interval 0, 1. Because as I said, all elements of open interval 0, 1 certainly satisfies the required condition. But then there are exactly two elements of closed interval 0, 1 which does not belong to open interval 0, 1. They are basically 0 and 1 only. So in order to demonstrate that closed interval 0, 1 is an open set, we just have to demonstrate this just for t equals 0 and t equals 1. So let's basically let's try to do it for let's see if it's possible to do it for any one of them. If it's possible to do it for any one of them, it should be possible to do it for the other also. So uh, so we need a naught and b naught real numbers such that 0 belongs to open interval e naught b naught, and open interval a naught b naught is a subset of closed interval 0, 1. We need such real numbers satisfying these conditions. The question is, does does such A naught B naught exist? You can think for a moment. Well, what would this mean? This part. We require we require 0 to be in open interval A naught B naught, and we want every point of open interval A naught B naught to be contained in closed interval 0 1. So there are two things that we want. One is this: 1/2 0 belonging to A naught B naught would mean 0 being greater than A naught and less than B naught. So this says something more very important about A naught. A naught has to be negative. The most important thing one can, what this requirement tells us is that A naught has to be negative. And the second requirement is every open interval A naught B naught should be a subset of closed interval 0 1. Would mean if T lies between A naught and B naught, that is, every point of open interval A naught B naught is an element of closed interval 0 1. That is, whenever T lies between A naught and B naught, then T has to be greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 1. So these are the requirements for such a thing to hold true. Now, will that happen? Of course, you can choose. Of course, you can choose A naught and B naught such that 0 belongs to A naught B naught. Okay, but for such a choice of A naught and B naught, will the second requirement be satisfied? Is something that you need to look into the matter. Now, if A naught and B naught are chosen such that 0 belongs to open interval A naught B naught, that would singularly mean that if A naught B naught are chosen such that 0 belongs to open interval A naught B naught, then A naught is certainly less than 0, okay, as highlighted earlier. Now, consider A naught by 2. The value A naught by 2. Now, value A naught by 2 is also negative. Since A naught is negative, A naught by 2 is also negative. But you can check out that A naught by 2 is bigger than A naught. So, why is this true? That's because half is less than 1. And if you multiply both sides by a naught, if you multiply both sides by a naught, the the inequality has to reverse because a naught is negative. So in that case, uh, a naught by 2 has to be greater than a naught. That's what basically I have written here. Okay, a naught by 2 is greater than a naught and less than 0. But what do I know about 0? 0 is less than b naught, and then I want open interval a naught b naught to be contained in closed interval uh, 0 1. That can happen provided b naught is less than 1. So we have this a naught is greater than is less than a naught by 2 is less than 0, which in turn is less than b naught, which has to be less than, or probably even equality can be allowed, greater than or equal to, I mean less than or equal to 1. So basically what this means is uh, a naught by 2 is greater than a naught, but certainly less than b naught. So and so we have a naught by 2 greater than a naught, that's less than b naught. Thus a naught by 2 belongs to open interval a naught b naught. But since a naught is less than 0, a naught by 2 is also less than, strictly less than 0. So since a naught by 2 is strictly less than 0, this implies that a naught by 2 cannot belong to closed interval 0 1, because any point here has to be greater than or equal to 0, which certainly a naught by 2 does not satisfy. So a naught by 2 does not belong to closed interval 0 1. So we have found a point of open interval a naught b naught which does not belong to closed interval 0 1. So this inclusion is not true for any choice of a naught b naught containing 0. Open interval a naught b naught will not be a subset of closed interval 0 1. Hence what this means is closed interval 0 1 is not an open set. So though every point of open interval 0 1 satisfies the required condition, but 0 does not satisfy the required condition. You can check it out. 1 will also not satisfy this condition. That is, mm, uh, for any choice of a1 b1 real numbers such that 1 belongs to open interval a1 b1. Open interval a1 b1 can never be subset of closed interval 0 1. So 1 will also be a problematic point for closed interval 0 1, which stops it from being an open set. 1 and 0 both stops closed interval 0 1 from being an open set. Now, for the third example, one can consider. So, example number 1 told us that open intervals are open sets. You can also see that union of open intervals, union of bunch of open intervals, union of, for example, start off with 2 open intervals is an open set. For example, if I1 is an open interval and let I1, let open interval A1 B1 and consider open interval, consider open interval A1 B1 and open interval A2 B2. What we know is both of them are open sets. Now claim open union of both of them, open interval A1 B1 union open interval A2 B2 is an open set. Now, two things can happen. There are two possibilities for this union. The union could itself be an open interval. Union of two open intervals need not always be an open interval, but if it is, then there's nothing to prove at all because all open intervals are open sets. So, case 1, if open interval A1 B1 union open interval A2 B2 happens to be open interval A3 B3, then we are done. Done because open interval A3 B3 is an open set because it is an open interval. By virtue of being an open interval, it's an open set. There's nothing to demonstrate. But if the union is not an open interval, case 2, if A1 union, open interval A1 B1 union open interval A2 B2 is not an interval, then let X belong to the union. Let me call that union to be, for time being, A. Let me call this union to be A. Let me call it A, this union. So if X belongs to A, then either, so before that, what are we supposed to do in order to demonstrate that A is an open set? So we need to find AX, BX, real numbers, such that X belongs to open interval AX, BX, and this is a subset of A. So since X belongs to A, and since A is union of two sets, open intervals in particular, so either X belongs to the first one or the second one, whatever be the case. In that case, choose AX to be A1, BX to be B1 if X belongs to open interval A1, B1, or AX to be A2, BX to be B2 for, whenever uh, X belongs to open interval A2, B2. Then these requirements are satisfied clearly as open interval A1, B1 is a subset of A. Similarly, open interval A2, B2 is also a subset of A. Then there's no issue. These conditions are certainly satisfied. So, union of two open intervals is an open set. In fact, you can extend this for any you can extend this for at least for today's class. You can extend it for any union of finitely many open intervals. So I'll write it down. You can take it as an exercise. Exercise 1, union of finitely many open intervals is an open set. Now, okay. Now, uh, also take another exercise. Well, you just have to mimic the arguments that were provided in example 2 to prove that for a and b real numbers and a less than b, one though closed interval ab is not open set. Similarly, closed a open b is not open set. Similarly, open a closed b is not open set. So these the arguments for demonstrating that each one of them is not an open set is just mimicking the arguments that we provided in example 2. Okay. So I'll give one more example and then we'll stop. Example 4, I suppose. No finite set is an open set. This would require some information about open intervals. Well, side note, you can take it as a side note for for real numbers a and b, a less than b, open interval ab, closed interval ab, the semi-closed, semi-open intervals are all uncountable sets, meaning they are infinite sets. So for a less than b, all these intervals are uncountable sets. So that we'll use this information to prove that no finite set is an open set. So in particular, no singleton is an open set. So let let f be a subset of R, be finite. Uh, if f is open, then for all x in f, there exist ax and bx real numbers such that x belongs to open interval ax bx and open interval ax bx is contained in f. Now, if this all of this happens, provided f is an open set, open open set. Now, let's assume that f is an open set, then all of this happens. So uh, let's let's focus on this aspect. Since x belongs to open interval ax bx, this would mean ax is less than x is less than bx. So this would mean that ax is certainly less than bx. So that would make, since ax is less than bx, that would make uh, open interval ax bx an infinite set. Now, how can an infinite set be a subset of a finite set? So this would be a contradiction. This would be a contradiction because an infinite set can't be a subset of a finite set because x belongs to ax bx. So what leads to contradiction? Assumption that a finite set is an open set. So no finite set is an open set in R. So no singletons are open, no doubletons. So basically, mm, the the only possible candidates for an open set in R are basically infinite sets. But said that not every infinite set is an open set. For example, none of these intervals are open sets, though they are all infinite sets. So let us close at this point to this lecture. We'll continue with some more examples of open sets in R in the next lecture. Thank you. Try to solve these exercises. Let's stop at that point. Thank you.